I just wanted to make a short lecture on the box method that we use today in class for factoring, as particularly helpful when your leading coefficient isn't 1. And so I kind of want to start with an explanation of what we're doing. So let's just multiply any binomial together. So let's say x plus 1 times x minus 3. Okay? And so I can use a box to multiply this together. Actually, this is really good for people who lose terms and things like that. So I'm going to put the x and the plus 1 here, and then the x and the minus 3 here. It doesn't matter what order or where I put them, right? I could put an x plus 1 here and x minus 3 here. So we're just going to multiply. What goes in each one of these boxes is the side times the top in each case. So x times x gives me x squared, x times 1 gives me 1x, negative 3 times x gives me negative 3x, and negative 3 times positive 1 gives me negative 3. Okay, so then I could write this. I kind of like multiply them using this method because then when I combine my like terms, they're on the diagonal. So I could write this as minus 2x minus 3. So that's if I multiply my binomial together. So I want to point some things out here about this box because we're going to use the backward, basically, version of this. The x squared always goes in this top left corner. The constant term goes in the bottom right corner, and then the two x values are on the diagonal. So what we want to do then, this is kind of an extension of the other method that I've been using. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to factor x squared minus 11x minus 7. Okay. So in terms of my box, okay, I know that my x squared term always goes here, and my constant term goes here. And now I need to figure out what my x's are. So I can figure out what my x terms are by multiplying the 6 times 7, and it gives me 42. Now this sign is negative, so when I'm finding factors of 42, I'm looking for one minus the other factor being 11. Okay, I can alter the sign based on the negative 11, but for right now we're just going to look at one factor minus the other being 11. So 42, I can use 1 times 42, that's not it. 2 times 21, that's not it. And then this is also divisible by 3, and so 3 times 14, and this is the one that I want. I can tell because 14 minus 3 is 11. Okay? So in order to get 11, it's going to have to be negative 14 and positive 3. These are my x terms. So this is what I need to put in my box. So it doesn't matter where I put what. I'm going to put the 3x here. I'm going to put the minus 14 here, x. Okay, I could just have easily put the 3x here and the negative 14. Like the order that you put them in doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to look. Now I'm going to figure out what's on this, like on the sides of the box that multiply to give me together to give me this. In order to get x squared here, I know one of these has to be an x and the other one has to be an x. Okay, so when I look at this, right, so it could be maybe 6 times 1 gives me 6, but these aren't both multiples of 6, and neither are these, so that's probably not it. 2 times 3 also gives me 6, so let's think about that for a second. Like these are both multiples of 2, right? 14 isn't a multiple of 3. These are both multiples of 3. So more than likely, here's my 3, here's my 2. I get the 6x squared here. Now does everything else work? So what would I need to multiply 3x by to get 3x? Well, there has to be a 1 up here. And then down here, I'm going to have 2x times something here that'll give me the minus 14. And so I can put negative 7 here, because 2 times negative 7 gives me minus 14, and then it does work in the last section too. Negative 7 times 1 gives me negative 7. So the way that I factor this then is, if there's no sign there, I assume it's plus, so I have 2x plus 1, and then this one down here in the bottom is 3x minus 7. Right? So let me just do a couple of examples like that, sort of we get the hang of it. All right, so let's do another example like that. I'm just factoring, that's why there's no equal to sign, and I'm not setting them equal to 0 or anything. I'm just factoring. Okay, so I want to factor 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. I'm going to put them in my box. All right, so this is 2x squared, and then this is minus 12. So I have I multiply the 2 and the 12 and get 24, right? It's technically going to get negative 24, so I'm looking for two numbers. When I multiply them together, I get 24, but when I subtract one from the other, I can get this negative 5. Okay, so that means, let's see, I could use 1 and 24, but that's not it. The difference between them is 23. 2 times 12 is not it. Difference between them being 10. 3 times 8, there we go. The difference between 3 and 8 is 5. And so, right, when this sign is minus, just like when you're putting in your parentheses, one sign has to be positive, one has to be negative. So that means I'm going to have negative 8x and positive 3x as a combination of these two to give me negative 5x. Right? If this is positive, then both the signs have to match. Right? It's kind of the same idea. And so I'm just going to put these in here. I'm going to put negative 8x here and 3x here. No reason to put either one in either place. It'll still factor the same way. All right, so I know that there'll be an x here and an x here. So to make 2, the only way I can make 2 is 2 times 1. So I look in this direction, and 3 is not a multiple of 2. So I probably don't want to put the 2 here. But then I look downward here, and 2 and negative 8 are both multiples of 2. So this is where my 2 goes. Okay, so now I'm just going to look this way first. 2 times what will give me 3x, and that's just positive 3. Right, so I just put the plus up there. I don't really need it. I can just put it in at the end. And then I have 2x times something here to give me negative 8x. So that would be negative 4. And then just to make sure that I've got it right, negative 4 times positive 3 gives me the negative 12. And so my two factors are 2x plus 3 and x minus 4. Right? If you're still not sure if you did it right, check your middle terms, right? There's my 2x squared from here and here. My minus 12 comes from the last terms, 3 and negative 4. And then the middle terms come from here, right? I get positive 3x, I get minus 8x when I multiply those two together. And when I add those two together, I do in fact get the minus 5x. All right, so let's do just one more. And we'll look at 3x squared plus 22x plus 7. All right, so I'm going to make my box. That puts my 3x squared here and my 7 here. So I multiply the 3 times the 7 and I get 21. And this is plus, so that means both my factors will add together to give me 22, and then they'll both be positive from this side. When this is positive, then both of these signs of these match, and they always match this, right? The first sign. All right, so I have 1 times 21, and I'm there, right? Because 1 plus 21 is 22. So that means I'm going to have an x here and a 21x here, right? That's what I want to think of them as. These are my x terms. All right, so now, right, I know I'm going to have an x here and x here, right? That's the only way I can get x squared here. And so I know that 3, I get 3 and 1. Well, 1 is not a multiple of 3, so I don't want to put the 3 here. So I want to put the 3 up here because 3 and 21 are both multiples of 3. So now 3 times 7 gives me 21, so that's where my 7 goes. And then over here, I just need a 1 because x times 1 gives me x. And the good news is that positive 1 times positive 7 gives me the 7 here. So neither one of these have signs, so I'm going to assume they're positive. So it factors as 3x plus 1 times x plus 7. And if I multiply those back together, you can double check me, but I should get this back. All right, hope that helps.